Indiana Jones. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm the Pete Mummert.
Congratulations, actually. That's
Yeah.
a pretty big deal, Pete. That's a pretty big deal.
Thank you.
I don't know who I am. I'm anonymous. I'm Jerry. Yeah.
Before we introduce our guests, maybe I should explain the Admiral comment. Chris Eliopoulos, our good friend and frequent guest of the show, has officially canonized the Indiana Jones Minute into official Lucasfilm Star Wars canon, and I urge everybody to go out and buy Marvel's Darth Vader #1 comic, in which there is some force choking and a good Admiral Mummert.
Is he
Nice.
Well,
That's
I
awesome.
think he's good.
good? That is huge.
And if that's not enough, you get to learn about where Darth Vader got his red lenses.
Oh, really?
And there's lots of mouse droid action. There's all kinds of
Wow.
great stuff in this one.
I haven't gotten my issue yet. I'm a bad friend and a bad podcaster and a bad Star Wars fan.
I have like 30 of them, so
okay.
I can lend you one.
The Admiral looks exactly like you, too.
Oh, he captured the mild anxiety disorder amazingly well.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, now Pete's head's going to get too big for the show, so we better finish this movie while he still works with us and puts up with us.
By the time this airs, he's left.
Yeah, totally. So much for Pete.
On the plus side, though, I figure that means that anything we say now about Star Wars or by the Carbonite transitive theory, Indiana Jones is also canon.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Of course.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're plugged in.
Yeah.
Gotta watch what we say. And someone else who should watch what they say is our guest, our returning champion, John Brueggen, our friend from Florida who swims with alligators and snakes. And he's here to help us out with more of this fun. Welcome back, John.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's good to have you as we're finally maybe going to get out of this mine one of these days. I don't know.
Wow.
At least the pod racing scene wasn't inside. It wasn't in like a cave. That went on forever and ever and ever and when those guys did Phantom Menace. But anyway, this is Minute 101, if you can't already tell. Minute 101 begins with our heroes in a runaway mine trolley. That's for you, Jerry. And ends with them finding the light at the end of the tunnel.
No. You know, what is with all the puffs of smoke that they keep passing through? Are those like intermittent fires? Do you think that now that Indy has absconded with the Sankara stones, that the Temple of Doom wells are drying up and their cattle is turning to dust?
Maybe.
Like, yeah.
Oh, like as he's going by, it's just stuff's drying
Yeah,
up.
it's like the mine, and just in general, you see these same intermittent fires that we saw in Mayapur, in the Mayapur village.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're
And I'm wondering, like, if Indy takes the stones, like, is the devastation immediate? And Molaram, stole the stones from the children from Mayapur, and then 5 minutes, maybe Molaram stole the Sankara stone like 5 minutes before Indy showed up.
Yeah, we were wondering about that back
Yeah,
then.
like was
That's
it a
starting to make
week?
sense.
Was it 2 weeks? Or maybe it was like at 2 p.m. and Indy shows up at like 2:10.
Why all the long faces, everybody? We still got some banana leaves.
What do you think a devastated lava mine would look like? Would it suddenly have vines and wildlife everywhere and this lush tropical environment?
On the flip side of it, you're like, if you think of the Temple of Doom and you think of what the Sankara stones brought to Mayapur, which is like this verdant, lush village and greenery, you're like, it doesn't seem like the Sankara stones are really doing their job in the Temple of Doom.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're sort of Ark-like. The Ark didn't seem to like being in the hands of the Nazis. It tortured some rats and stuff and burned some wood crates and everything. So maybe it's maybe the Sankara stones are sort of like that. They're kind of like, nah, we're gonna wait till we're back in the proper hands.
Right.
Maybe it just enhances the things around it. Maybe there wasn't that much lava to begin with, and now it's growing.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, yeah.
Oh, it's a Temple of Doom you want. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you're on the show again and again. It's like they had a little match before they started the Temple of Doom.
Now it's back to being like the Temple of Tentative Hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like when Indy climbs out of this mine trolley. He looks exactly like a comic book 30s serial action hero. Like his chin's jutting out, and
Yeah.
he just looks like the tough guy adventurer getting out of. Like he looks amazing.
Yeah.
As he's climbing up there, you see very prominently his gun holster. And has he been without a gun the entire movie since she dropped it out the window?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think so.
Still wearing the holster.
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice holster. He doesn't want to just get rid of it. His mom gave him that holster.
Maybe he's operating under tentative hope.
Yeah.
So, John, you're sort of a man. You are a man. I'm barely a man. I'm barely a man. You're a guy who like wrestles with alligators, but I mean in a friendly way.
Sure.
I've seen you at work. Yeah. You don't. It's like you're kind of like a scrum chum, but with alligators, where everybody's kind of just having a good time.
When they tap out, he respects it. He backs off.
Right.
For sport.
Right.
But because I'm barely a man and I don't know about these sorts of things, does Indy purposely remove the brake pad? Like he kicks it off the mine trolley, and if you're trying to brake a vehicle, which again I know nothing about, would it be? I mean, it's like it looks like he purposefully kicks the brake pad off and then like uses the sole of his shoe.
Right.
I agree.
By the way, John, just so we're on the same page, a mine trolley is what Jerry calls a mine cart.
I figured.
Right.
Okay.
We just want to keep him happy. We don't know what the deal is here exactly, but
Yeah, actually, when the stick breaks off, when short round is trying to apply the brake, it breaks off. So there's still about a foot of it sticking up, and I think the first thing I would have done was to stand there and try to put my foot on that stick as opposed to where he's actually putting it.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe that breaks, but it does kind of look like like he purposely kicks it off. But I think in the script I have, it says something about it falls apart under the weight of his foot or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
does look like he kicks it on purpose. I always assumed that it was like not connecting right because it was busted, so he just kicked it out of the way to, so he could stop it with his foot.
But it's a brake pad. There's nothing wrong with the brake pad as long as you're applying the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says the pad screeches against the spinning wheel, starts sparking, and breaks off! !
That is what happens. But it just looks like he kicks it off.
Yeah,
So
it looks like he
that's-
kicks it off.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't supposed to be that tight of a shot.
Oh, that could have.
Yeah.
You know what? I just watched it again. It could be. It looks like his foot shoves it, but it could be it's just giving way and it kind of drags his foot off for a second.
Yeah.
And that's why it looks like he kicks it.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Okay.
The important thing is, though, this whole thing reminds me of the Bionic Woman doll that came with the car. And her special thing was that her foot would stick out of the car door and she would stop the car with her foot, as she did in one of the episodes of the television program.
Meet the Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what causes the sparks? Is it the nails in his heel of his shoe, or what do you think is causing the?
That's a very good question.
That's an excellent question.
I think it's just ILM. Whatever on-set ILM guy just applied something, some sandpaper or some, metal filings. I don't know.
That's like the 1984 version of the ubiquitous like Michael Bay explosion today.
Yeah.
Or does he? I mean, are there steel toe indie boots? Oh, I got all you guys.
I'm thinking.
I mean, are they? I feel like saying, if anybody again would know here about man boots, it's going to be John Brueggen. Obviously not asking you, Pete or Tom.
They don't sell any Indiana Jones type boots that are steel-toed that I know of. I wore steel toes a lot in the zoo field, working around big hoof stock. If you got stepped on, it wasn't so bad. But then when I started working with elephants, the managers were like, you have to get rid of the steel toes, because if an elephant steps on your steel toes, it's not going to slow it down. It will just cut your toes off.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I dropped that habit then, and I never picked it up again.
Wow.
John, can you be my uncle? You got the greatest story.
Tell me again about not getting your toes cut off by an elephant.
So wait a minute. So what do you wear around the elephants?
You wear normal boots and you really pay attention, but we work
Okay.
these things in kind of sandy soil, and you'd be much better off getting elephant weight on your foot and just push down into the sand, which may break a bone, than this metal cup curling around and slicing your toes.
That makes sense.
Wow. Yeah.
I got a question. I know a lot of people, myself included, who listen to this show have been reading or have read Lost City, the Monkey God. Mm-hmm. And he talks about Kevlar shoes, like anti-snake shoes. Do you wear those around alligators?
No, alligators have the highest bite force of any animal on the planet. Alligators and crocodiles for their size, and so we've done that. Where we did that work for National Geographic, they actually paid for us to do that study, so that every time they air a show and they say, well, this crocodile can bite down with 3,000 pounds of force, they could actually say it with real science behind it. And and so you just don't want to get bit. If you're in something even like Kevlar, they've got so much force that they're crushing. They're not just breaking through it.
Okay.
But my father-in-law just gave me a pair of what he calls rattlesnake boots, which are Kevlar that kind of go down over your ankle and then come up to your shin. And so if you know you're going to be in a heavy rattlesnake area, the rattlesnakes can't bite through that at all. They got pretty thin fangs, and they just bounce off of it.
Huh. Crazy.
Yeah.
The things you got to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. What Shorty mouths and what you hear him say don't line up. Anybody else catch that?
No. What does he even say?
Yeah. I don't know.
say
He says
something?
like, yeah. If you watch it, he says like, watch
you're
out
right.
or slowing
Oh.
down or something. He says something, and it's not at all like what you hear, and his mouth isn't moving. Yeah.
Well, I got something else for you, Jer, about that. It turns out Willie is a Ginny says what she sees.
We're gonna crash.
We're going too fast. We're gonna.
I'm in a mine cart. And your shoes are smoking.
What is it that the mine trolley is approaching? Is it literally the end of the line?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. That's what it
is
looks like.
Is it where the cave ends, or is that like, is the gorge on the other side of that bumper?
No, the gorge is off to the right.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the
Yeah.
places the track ends. There's obviously some divergence here, and it looks like that's as far as they've mined out the rock in that spot.
Although, you know what's weird? At the very, very end of the minute, as they're coming out through that other tunnel, and they see the light at the end, it looks like there are train tracks, or, mine trolley tracks going all the way out to the opening.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
absolutely
there
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you slow it down, you can see
Yeah.
they're just bent tracks, like
Yeah.
it went further and then that part fell off or something.
They're
Yeah.
like, we should put a sign like maybe 100 yards back that says don't. Just put up a little barrier.
Can't Willie and Shorty just jump out of the mine trolley? I mean, they're going like 3 miles an hour. Especially
certain
like
point,
the
yeah.
last,
Yeah,
at the last
they
maybe 80 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they not only should they have jumped out, but he should have not stayed where he was.
Yeah, he could probably safely jump off, and they
Yeah.
could, they would slowly hit the bumper at the end and not be too badly bashed.
Or just they'd be done with the mine trolley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just love
Imagine
this
that.
whole sequence so much, they just want to keep it going as long as they can.
Well, it's funny. Shorty went from being like he fought off an entire army of Thuggy, like single-handedly, and now Indy picks him up out of the cart, and he just looks like the littlest kid. Like he looks like he's 7 years old.
He gives him a lollipop.
Tiny little kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we're definitely still in fever dream territory here, because if you look at that barrier, and you look behind it, and there's like a big metal pole kind of propped up at an angle, and there's debris. It looks almost exactly like the inside of the trash compactor.
Oh, wow.
That's funny.
Nice, Pete.
Just general cave/garbage compactor detritus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all just kind of mingling in there in his brain.
And he would have been a lot thinner if he didn't get that brake
Yeah.
pressed in.
That's right.
Well, I was, think of every single place that Indy's shoe has been in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like the streets of Shanghai, that whole Lao Che chicken airplane, the Raft River, Mayapur, the campsite, the whole bloody Khaled room, then Pat Roach conveyor belt. Now take that shoe and start cooking it.
Oh.
That's gotta smell disgusting.
Like haggis.
And it's like his shoe starts cooking.
Yeah, they just probably want to pick up like a handful of sulfur rocks and use those as a nosegay. Like,
Yeah, really. Hey, you.
He could have actually, he's worried about his shoe on fire. I mean, he probably could have just taken his shoe off.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah. I don't know where he thought he was going to get what. Like, yes, there's a giant gag, rushing towards him at 100 miles an hour, but where did he think he was going to get water from? He should have just kicked his shoe off.
I don't know, but he says it a lot. He says water 9 times before he even sees the water.
Well, this whole thing is straight out of a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, and also because it takes him a while, how it takes the coyote a while to realize he's running over thin air. It takes him a while to realize his foot's on fire too.
Yeah, he's all excited first. Like, hey, look what I have.
And this whole scene is very kind of Looney Tunes, like the little, the soft little kind of comic bump at the end when he, when he hits the barrier at the end, and the water thing. Like the whole thing's kind of a nice little Spielberg cartoon.
Well,
Yeah.
and then when Indy holds up the little sign that says "Yipe,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And later on, he goes to shoot the guys, and just a little thing comes out that says "pow."
and so he puts his 2 fingers in the gun.
Yeah.
Gun fires backwards.
And his beak is on the back of his head.
Yeah.
I'm only just noticing this now, but how long? Willie has a bare midriff. Has she had that this entire time? Like since her, sacrifice outfit way back in the temple proper?
I was wondering that too, because I when she got out of the thing, it was like, oh my god, it looks just like Padme's outfit. in Attack of the
Thank
Clones.
you. I'm so glad you said it and I didn't have to say it, because I was going to feel like a weirdo and a dummy. But they on the Star Wars Minute, they spent a lot of time on that. Like, oh, the thing had to rip her shirt, so she'd have to have the bare midriff and stuff. And I don't remember Willie being, she's not exposed, but you know what I mean. She's got, it was a more full body thing that she had on before, wasn't it? Or is it just, is that just because she had like the kind of flowing drapes part of it too?
Yeah, maybe she had like the Helen Roper moo kind of thing over it before. I'm not sure.
Helen Roper and Attack of the Clones in 1 minute. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Admiral Mummert, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I was wondering though, is this where George Lucas got some of his inspiration?
Yeah, maybe he had a big crush on Kate Capshaw and he was jealous of Steven Spielberg. He's like, I'm going to put a bare midriff in my movie. Just you wait.
Maybe somebody will marry me.
Yeah, someday.
I was wondering though, like it takes him a while for him to realize his foot's on fire, and I was just wondering if there's a lot of evil that the colleagues still had to burn out, or like a lot of colleague that the flames still had to burn out.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like he's still kind of an.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I think like maybe if the water hadn't come, he might have been a lot nicer guy in Raiders.
Maybe.
Wow, that's really interesting, Pete. I like that.
Maybe every time he gets badly injured from now on, it's like his Kali level drops, like just almost to normal levels.
And one thing we have to go along with this, that great interview we had with Chris Hopkins, where he was talking about how they just told him to paint it red, and so much of this movie has been red, and this is, I think, the end of the red. Like all of a sudden, the water is going to come and wash the red all away.
Oh yeah,
the glow of the lantern here is kind of the end of it.
Well, that's cool.
And from here on out, we're all out in the sunshine, and it's like a new day.
Can I say something weird that I can't really verify because it's really random? Just the way I have it paused right now at the end of this minute, Willie looks just like Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. The way her hair is kind of like, she's turning her head, so her hair's kind of puffing out on the sides, and she's not going to take it. No, she's not going to take it.
That's not weird. I mean, that's 80s.
It
That's
is.
80s all day long. It's a man,
Yeah.
a woman. That's the 80s.
You're all worthless and weak.
Yep.
Hey, apparently there's a lion in the water.
Yeah, I thought there was
Right?
a T-Rex. But
Right, it's like a lion, and I was wondering, like, maybe that's Mola Ram's and Kali's secret weapon.
Oh.
Like, he can conjure a flood with a lion.
Yeah.
And then I thought, maybe Mola Ram and Kali are like the Wonder Twins.
Oh,
Like,
maybe.
like doesn't one conjure, like, forces of nature, and the other conjures an animal? Turns into an animal?
yeah.
Now wait. Now, Jer, are you purposely, for Pete's sake, not for Pete's sake, for the sake of Pete Mummert, are you specifically not mentioning or making a Lord of the Rings reference where Arwen makes the flood come and it's like rushing horses and it's like a thing?
Aw, God, I love Lord of the Rings so
I do
much.
too. Let's think about that for a minute.
Let's
That was
think about
great.
that. And the horses, they're like beautiful stallions.
Yeah.
They come and they
Oh
wipe
yeah,
away.
yeah.
Aw,
Oh,
it's
I
wash
love
away the
that too.
Nazgul.
Yeah.
You stop it, Pete!
Yeah. Don't you sully it with your words.
Stop it. Wait a second. John, do you like Lord of the Rings?
I'm not a huge fan. I read all of them and like The Hobbit, and I was very disappointed to have 30 years of my life where the only movie was a cartoon Hobbit.
Wow. Yes. I
that's
remember.
pretty true blue.
Yes. God, that is. Anyway, so yeah, I'm wondering about that. You're like the water and the lion. It's exactly like the Wonder Twins, Kali and Mola Ram.
Yeah.
Form of a rushing flood.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain a lot. That explains
Yes.
a lot about how this water moves, because this water
Yeah.
doesn't move like water. You don't find a hole in a pipe and plug it by just sticking an extra pipe in the side of it. Why doesn't this water go where they go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it we'll find in a minute. I think the water's going to make a 180-degree turn also.
Right.
Yeah. I'm picturing a different cartoon now. It's like where the water's
Yeah.
going, huh? And tries to like pick a way to go, like, huh?
And there's not even a drop that comes splashing through that side tunnel. It's really,
No, not at all.
really
Yeah.
quite amazing.
But see, I think we're going to find out in a couple of minutes that Mola Ram has this amazing ability to get from one place to another really, really quickly. And what you're describing, Jerry, might explain it. Like he might be surfing down that water, like he's got some kind of a special Mola Ram surfboard, and he's surfing down that water, and so he's going to make it to the other side of the ravine, the gorge, before Indy does.
Can't believe they didn't show that. Can't believe it.
I'm gonna go out and just say it. Kali and Mola Ram are the Wonder Twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what is happening here in minute 101.
Does that make Chatterlal Gleek?
Yes.
Is that his name?
Yes, of course that's his name. And he's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Well, they need some power, because you can't explain where all this water's coming from. I mean, if they had shown him breaking a dam and diverting a river into here, fine. But there's one big, giant, granted huge bucket of water.
It was a real big bucket.
If you just tip that over, it just flows out on the ground, and it's done. It didn't fill any more space than what it was.
And even if it makes it like enough to fill the tunnel, it still has to go over all that lava where it's just going to turn into steam anyway.
Oh, maybe that's what all the smoke is that Jerry was talking
yeah,
about.
maybe.
Maybe the lava's all being put out.
but the water isn't there yet.
It's sneaking in from the side.
I mean, look, let's be honest. We know what should have happened. Molaram tips the thing over. It floods like about, I don't know, maybe 500 feet of the tunnel, and then that's it. And Molaram is sitting there, and there's a bunch of guys that are wet, and they turn around and they go, what the was that for?
Thanks for nothing, Molaram.
And that's it. And Molaram goes, Kali Jaro, Jolly Karo. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. Well, he kind of does a big shrug and it freezes, and then the end credits.
Yep. That's what
living.
should have happened.
But maybe because we know, I think we can surmise that Chatterlal survived because he was kind of crawling away. Maybe he's just up turning on all the faucets in the palace, and it's causing more water everywhere.
That's probably it.
There's a point at which Indy just shoves Willie down that side tunnel, and that's not the last time he's just going to push her. We can't really escape the horrible CGI at that moment. The water comes in, and you've got Short Round, and he kind of walks through a log as the water's coming through. I mean, it's some pretty bad stuff.
But see, this is where I'm like, and probably all of us are two-faced, based on our generation. Like, I find these, optical effects charming in their fakeitude. Yeah. But yeah, if this actually was like computer generated now, I'd be like, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
What a bunch of baloney. Stupid kids.
There's a reason I think that they had to do that, and we can talk about that next minute. That'll come up.
All right.
Well, yeah, the reason they had to do it is 1984.
That was, thank you, Jerry. That was the reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Don't have to wait till minute 102.
He's throwing his notes over his shoulder.
Everybody listen to the Mogwai Minute tomorrow. Our podcast is just 1984.
You might be an admiral. Oh, wait a second. I'm getting something coming in over the wires here.
What? That's impossible.
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Water. Whiskey.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was good.
Well done. That's why she's a professor.
Yep.
Well, that should do it for 101. John, can you come back tomorrow for 102?
I'd love to.
We would love you to, so you should.
Yes.
But until then, can you tell people where to find you and your animal stuff?
Sure.
That's the best word I can come up with.
Just go to alligatorfarm.com, and there's stuff about our zoo and a way to contact me if you want to, and learn a little bit about some animals.
And Jared visited you this year down there.
I was gonna say, to put a finer point on it, it's the St. Augustine Alligator Farm Zoological Park. And I did, I feel like I got one of those Willy Wonka golden tickets. I did actually go, and John was wonderful. He gave me a tour of the place, and it was stunning. It was absolutely stunning. I loved it. Like the way they handle all the alligators and all the other reptiles there, and I really learned a lot about it. And there's like a whole sort of back area where the alligators are, I don't know if I'd say they're free to roam, but there's a whole back bay portion where photographers come and take all sorts of, there's all sorts of birds too.
Yeah, there's about 2 acres back there, and it has 128 alligators, and then all the native rookery wading birds, so egrets, herons, wood storks, spoonbills. They all come every spring, and they build a nest in the trees above the alligators in that swamp. And they specifically want to be above alligators because then the raccoons and possums and snakes and rats can't get up the trees. The alligators prevent that. And so it's this symbiotic relationship in which some young birds get eaten occasionally, but the colony as a whole is very well protected.
That was one of the coolest things I've done this year. and I do cool things every day.
Because you're a man.
Yeah, well, it was great. I would encourage everybody to go there. It was actually a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jerry.
Awesome. I want to go.
Yeah, I do too.
But Pete, where can other people go to see other stuff, like about the Indiana Jones Minute or something?
Why don't you go to our website, indianajonesminute.com, and even if you can't make it to Florida, you can look at our trading cards, and you can sort of relive some of the episodes you might have missed and see if you want to. I guess you can't really relive an episode you missed. You can look at some of the episodes you might have missed and go back and listen, or you can check out our Han Solo Dream page, or you can find all kinds of stuff, archaeology news, something for everybody at indianajonesminute.com.
We got a link to our Patreon on there if you want to support the show and get another show as a bonus. My God. You'd be a fool not to. And now that I've called our audience a bunch of fools, I'm going to wish them to come back tomorrow for minute 102 of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute.